And welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Russ Porteous, and I am the host this evening on Reality Talks, where I'm joined by my friend and colleague Peter Karaglanis as we talk about this week's episode of The Block. We should have Francis with us shortly too. Francis from White Pebble Interiors. So, Pete, welcome aboard. You've had a week off. Welcome back. And we were both just reflecting on the fact that we both just had some skin cancers dealt with. I've got mine up here today. So if you're watching us and from anywhere in the country, let us know where you're watching from. Also, let us know what you thought of tonight's episode in the chat, anywhere you like, and we'll see it and we'll bring it up on the screen. So, Pete, what did you think of this evening's episode where we were talking about the kids' bedrooms? Only two kids' bedrooms in each house, and these look like really big houses.
Huge. I actually was pretty enthused by tonight's episode. It's hard to tell through the week how it's actually going to turn out and look, but I've got to say I was pretty impressed by all the rooms, obviously some more than others, but it's interesting that the kids' bedrooms have taken such centre stage, and I don't recall in any other year where it's had such a strong element for the whole week. And it was really good to see that each and every one of the contestants went out of their way to try and know the brief. I'm not going to get into all of it now. Suffice to say that recognising that the homes are family homes, that's who they're trying to appeal to. It's interesting that each contestant's experience, whether they've got children or not, whether they've got family members who've got children, they were trying to get into the minds of a child and, of course, a parent who might bring their kid in there and try and nail the brief.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know what the brief is from, and I come at this from the producer's perspective and editor's perspective. Is what was the brief that they gave the contestants? What did they give them some ages of some kids? What happened? Because to me, except for house number 4, I thought all of them were a little bit, or maybe house 4 and Francis has just text messaged me and said she's got a lot to say this evening. She's having some tech problems at the moment, so she's restarting her computer. But I thought all of them were pretty polarizing, and I'm not quite sure that that's something that I would want to buy if I was buying a house.
Yeah, look, for me, the thing that stood out was, for the most part, the contestants were probably hitting the sub 10-year-old children, except for house 4, Steph and Gian. I think it was a lot broader in what they did. Talking with my wife Tanya, obviously, as you know, we've had a heap of kids along the way. It's interesting knowing our children. So we got Jessica, who's my oldest, and Sam, who's my middle one. They tend to, even when they were young, they liked order, a little bit more sophistication. They like to keep things neat. Whereas Michael and Luke, mate, they had wardrobes. And so looking at those homes and knowing the character traits of my children, I actually instinctively knew which one would actually suit their characteristics. And that was the thing that I probably found most entertaining, was the contestants trying to interpret who the end user would be based upon maybe their own experience or the experience of others.
Yeah, well, we've got Francis with us now, Pete. So I know, Francis, you've got a lot to say. So give us your thoughts on this evening. Well, you're a little bit dark tonight, but you'll be right.
My phone's not working, so I've actually logged on from my computer.
Do you want us to give you another minute while you fiddle?
No, I'm all good. Look, overall, I thought the rooms were awesome.
Oh, really?
Gian and look, there was some real standouts. Obviously, Steph and Gian just absolutely nailed it. They nailed it because it was calm. Yes. It was age appropriate. for a really broad range of ages, and it was gender neutral. So I think they're the three really important things when you're designing a kid's space. Where some of the others didn't nail it like that. It was either for a small child, it was not gender neutral, or it was for a teenager. So they were the only couple I felt that nailed all those three really core things. A basketball room is not going to suit everyone. It's not for a little toddler. And if you don't like basketballs, it's going to be really for a boy. But look, they nailed it. They got 30 for a reason. My daughter was with me the whole time, and she's 12. And she gave some, she loved all the nooks, but she also thought the climbing wall was, she actually said the climbing wall, well, that's great, but, you're only going to really use that when you're up to about 8 or 9. And when you're 3, your parents really need to come and supervise you. So that was funny. And she said with the one where they could draw on the wall, she said, well, you're teaching a kid to draw on the wall, aren't you?
I tell you what, I had some experience with that with Michael, my son, who didn't mind scribbling on walls and stuff. So I scribbled on the back of his pants when he was doing that, because I told him off once and he did it again. And they happened to be my colour fast markers, which was fun getting off a white wall. So I thought that was a hilarious comment, and it made me laugh because I was remembering my own journey.
Well, I won't tell you what this daughter who said it's going to teach them to draw on the wall, what she's actually done to her walls as a toddler. But anyway, maybe she learnt from that experience. We had postage stamps and all sorts of stuff all over our wall.
Yeah, look, I've got to say that. Yep, sorry.
No. That's look, I've come in late, so I didn't mean to, but I've come in late. They were my overall. I was disappointed with the rooms. I can't believe Ash and Leah got second, because I thought their rooms, colour has a really big impact on how you can rest at night and how you can sleep. And I didn't feel that their rooms were conducive to creating a calming environment for a child to rest. And even my daughter was saying, oh, those colours, you get sick of those really quickly. And I thought the climbing wall would have been much better out in the garden. It all seems great in theory. So I think that there was a lot of things in here that, it seems great in theory, but in reality, it's not practical. It's not feasible. And I think if you're not doing gender neutral, you don't know who you're designing for. So it has to be gender neutral. So it's fine. I've got a girls' room and a boys' room. Well, you don't know if the people that are buying have got 2 girls, and you don't know the age groups of the buyers. So I think they needed to be more age appropriate and more gender neutral. So they were my overall comments, but you just could not fault Gian and Steph. Just nailed it in every aspect. You could have that as a spare room, really. It was so beautiful and calming.
I got to say, I agree with you, but we're getting ahead of ourselves, because I really want to talk about that room.
Which one?
As we get that, of course, Steph and Gian. I was Tanya, my wife, she was just agog. She loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
My daughter said, I want that room now. I want that room now. It was so, I don't think anyone could not like those spaces. And green is such a calming colour.
As opposed to pinks and reds and all sorts of other things. Hey, volume, mate.
Russ, you're on mute.
No, I'm not. Let's just go back to house number 1. And we'll kick it off from there. And you could see it on their faces. Once again, as I keep saying, the editors, they tell the story, not in words but in pictures, and you could see it all the way through. And that message is probably going to carry through to next week as well.
Yeah, so
I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, I could see what they were doing. And in fact, if we had a look at how they presented the rooms, it really reflected their own journey with kids. And so I didn't dislike the room with the basketball stuff in there. I thought it was strong. If I was a young boy and into basketball, I would have been absolutely just over the moon. If I was a boy.
You know who's buying it? That's the problem.
Yeah.
They've designed it for their children. That's the problem.
Yep. And so this is the demarcation zone that exists, and we keep hearing it in Marty Fox's comments, where the other two, who are interior designers, talk about pure design, and it's great. But Marty Fox is like, okay, love the design, but who are we going to appeal to? And he actually said something in House 4 that I will bring up now. He said, this will photograph great. He goes, where you have large rooms, it elicits luxury. And so you can actually have large rooms that feel small when you've got too much in there. And so now that first room they went into, it wasn't a huge room, but that really big picture of the Nikes on the back wall, you know, like the shoes, is that big poster, and the strong blue color, like that would have been great in, say, a training room somewhere, large. You're there to do sport and other things. Those colors to me actually made the room feel smaller, and it shrunk it. And there wasn't enough refracted light off that back wall, and just to me, it just felt heavy. I didn't dislike the room. I just thought it was a little bit nebulous, like hoping that someone will really vibe with this. And when you're selling a home, it's a competition.
It's too polarizing. Perfect if the brief was create a room for a kid that loves basketball. You couldn't have faulted that room except for the blue tack posters on the wall. But their second room was really nice. I thought it was calm. It was gender neutral. They used the curves. I thought they were severely dealt with on that room. The shelves didn't allow for a bigger bed. But, look, overall, I thought their second room was really nice. But overall, it's about the two rooms in that basketball room really let them down.
Oh, and what I actually thought was so good about this week's block was, you know, it was a pair of rooms that are really specific, where everything else we've gone through hasn't really been about that. I actually thought the contrast between the two was really good, and it actually gave me hope. They're not, you know, their finishes aren't bad. I'm not seeing anything there and I go, yuck. But my sales brain and prepping for sale tells me one thing. I think with you, Francis, is, you know, you do that forever home so very well. I think where they would work best if they already knew who their buyer was and they were delivering a specific brief. And I think if they did that, there'd be a lot more kudos, especially that first one.
I think there was one of the comments about, you know, it doesn't really connect to the rest of the house. And I actually don't think it needs to when it's a kid's room. It doesn't have to connect. That needs to have personality about the kids. It needs to be fun. It needs to be different. So if it does connect, I think that's great. And Gian and Steph have definitely made it connect, but I don't think it's necessarily a requirement. I think it's one rule that can be broken. Yeah, what about house 2? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, they've said that a few times. And look, obviously, Steph and Gian, the theme's all through the house, and that's fantastic. But they're making mountains out of molehills with some of the comments they're making. And I don't know if they're doing it because it's their shtick for the show itself. But how many homes do we actually walk into? Let's say you have an office, or you have a room that's so specific, it's not designed to work with everything else. It actually has a specific purpose. You know, if we were
that's right. And that's why I didn't think it was such a big deal that it wasn't connected. If it connects, that's awesome, but I don't feel it's a requirement.
And one of the things that I find, like when I do some work on a home, I deliberately will have a contrast somewhere in there as a highlight. And it's not to turn someone off, but it's to draw the eye and go, oh, that's different. And so when we're selling a home, that is the purpose of what we do, to have one or two elements that are the standout. So we go to house 2, Leah and Ash. Okay, straight off the bat, I can't say I'm a huge fan of a climbing wall at all.
It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
It's just a gimmick. I don't think it was, we're fun parents and everything else. But as my daughter said, if that was a 3-year-old's bedroom, you'd want to be supervised, or 2-year-old. I can just see my nephew just having masses of crashes. And if you're 9, you've outgrown it. You'd be into that for 5 minutes. And then it's just so gimmicky. It's a waste of money. It's just, I don't know, it should have been outside. So, and the colours, look, it was fun. It was absolutely fun. I just find really from a functionality perspective that a round corner in a room is really limiting.
Yeah.
Like I kept thinking in all of those spaces, they looked amazing. And my daughter's, a room like this. I went, you've got too much stuff. So how are you going to get a desk in these rooms? How are you going to get drawers in these rooms? How are you going to get bookcases in these rooms? And I just felt that with a corner, it just made it so limiting. However, they did use one corner in the more girl room with the curtains. I mean, that is just gold for a boy or a girl. Having an area, they did make it very feminine though, to just have a curtain. As a kid, you have a reading corner, then you have sleepovers in there, then a teenager goes in there. It was really age appropriate across a broad range of ages, but they made it far too feminine with all the pinks. So I wasn't a fan. They are into bold colours. It's not relaxing for a kid to sleep in.
Can I tell you, I almost want to wear 300 plus sunblock just being in their room.
Yeah, it was just like
strong.
But you get wired in a space like that. You can't relax.
And it's interesting, Darren Palmer said in room 1, he goes, I love Memphis design. Well, the thing is, he actually didn't tell us what Memphis design is. He said something without going into it. I've gone, okay, so he's speaking to someone who's in the know, where if you actually listen to Marty Fox, he speaks a language of people in the marketplace. And it's. I remember working, and I'm going to draw a parallel here. I remember working in a 5-star hotel when I used to serve wines, and people asked me about the wine, and I would talk about it, and people felt all knowledgeable, even though they didn't know what I was saying. All I did was repeat what's off the label. I did read the blurb and repeat it in a fancy way, and everyone nodded their head like they knew what I was saying, and that's what everyone was doing in the room. We're nodding our head, but what does Memphis design actually mean? How do we carry this elsewhere? And so that's me picking on him. He probably wouldn't realise that he's saying it. Marty Fox said, the room's great fun. Shannon Blow said, the colours have a sense of fun and joy. They have energy. Now, that was the thing that really interested me. The energy, I would probably, if I was doing a room, I would save that for a playroom somewhere. So
yeah, that's right.
Your friends go to, you've got your computer games in there, you've got your TV in there, you've got whatever it is that you do. You can roughhouse, you can play, do whatever you want, but you come to the room and it's just time to just chill. And in fact, that corner where they put that rock climbing thing, I actually thought a really nice window that actually followed the contour through there. I thought, now that would be different. So have you ever seen a window that runs round? I thought that. But
that's the architect. That's not them.
I realise that, but that's what was going through my mind. Yeah, what would I rather see here? That brick wall or a beautiful window? Disco ball in the other one. So to me, the disco ball was like the rock climbing wall. It's like getting a sugar hit, and then after a while, it's like, okay, I'm over it. Ross is giving me a thumbs up on that one.
and I suppose with that, though, you could close the curtain. It is a very 5-minute gratification thing, but I think that you can close the curtain where with the rock climbing wall, you always got a visual of that. Yeah. And imagine how damaged the wall's going to get as well. The whole thing's just going to be trashed within 5 minutes. It's just not practical. I don't care how laid back you are. It's just not going to look any good anytime soon for a very short amount of time.
So imagine if you had, say, 5 or 6 year old move in, in a blink of an eye, those 5-year-old kids are now 15-year-old kids. And what 15-year-old boy is going to want that?
But even my daughter was saying, oh, that's about 8. Until you're about 8, you'd be over that. And then you want something else. It's a very, very short amount of time that you'd be into that. You might not be into it at all, by the way.
Yeah, I think it was good that you actually had your daughter watching. That would have been fascinating.
It's awesome.
give insight.
She was really, really good.
We need to bring
I mean,
her on
she,
the
it was just, yeah, no, she was because she's 12, so she could say, yeah, I would have liked that when I was little, but I'd really like that now. And so she was, yeah, I mean, she was on the ball with the whole thing, really.
Oh, I'd love to be in a fly on the wall at your place.
Mm.
House
So
3.
what about number 3?
Brett and Christy. Now, I find Brett and Christy present quite polarizing as people. And it's interesting when they do the cut shots in the camera all the time. I don't see a lot of joy in her face. Fortunately, some of the work she does is actually quite good. Don't necessarily like everything, but I actually didn't mind this home.
Great.
So, room 1, Marty Fox said it's sophisticated but not overdone. And I thought that was a really interesting comment, especially from him. And as you see, my comments, I tend to lean towards what Marty Fox is saying a little bit because he's thinking about
we know.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah, and so, him saying it's not overdone is super important. We've had vendors want to dress the home themselves, and every good idea they've ever seen in their whole entire life will end up in that place. And I'm like, man, you denuded this home so much of what you got. And so that is a really critical point. It was sophisticated, not overcooked. What do you think?
I thought it was beautiful. Again, green is really calming. Like, green is one of the best colours you can use in a bedroom because it is so incredibly calming, soothing, connection to the outdoors. It doesn't really matter what shade of green it is. Again, it was really gender neutral. The bed was awesome. So my daughter and I were talking about the bed, even though that room was slightly geared more to a boy. I was talking to her about the fact that, it's a teepee. She said you could drape blankets over that and make it, a cave. And I said, and then for you, you'd have it covered in tulle or something like that, and you'd make it like a fairy bed. So you covered in fairy lights. Such a versatile bed, but then you don't need the teepee. But that was neither here nor there, really. I thought it was a really good room. I'm surprised they came third to Leah and Ash. I think they were much better than Leah and Ash's space because I felt that Leah and Ash were full of gimmicks, where this was a lot more livable, a lot more sellable. And the second room was very sophisticated, but it was definitely geared towards a teenager. It wasn't very versatile for a buyer. That was absolutely geared towards a teenage girl, maybe someone in their 20s. It wasn't a children's room, really, and it was full on.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was, like up the walls and on the roof. That, to me, that reminded me of something I saw in the early 80s. I had a friend where I grew up in Shelton, best mates, and his mum described the wallpaper. And I remember going into rooms where there's wallpaper on all walls and the ceilings. And all I just remember had that sense of impending doom.
And I thought it was really impactful, especially because they had very light sheers. It's not for everyone, and that's why it's not versatile. But from a design perspective, I thought it was really clever that they didn't just do a feature wall. They really wrapped it around, so you felt cocooned with the floral. But the execution of that wallpaper was poor, and that's not on them. That's Graphico. They didn't pattern match, their pattern repeat, and that will drive you nuts not having that match when you're looking up. But it wouldn't be very calming, again, for a lot of people because it's so busy. Yeah. But I love that it wrapped around. I thought it was really impressive.
Yeah, look, I mean, I looked at it again, and I thought, if I'm lying here and I'm looking up and seeing that the whole time, it's like me, it's hard enough to go to sleep as it is.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I'll be watching all those things and my brain will be going, this, that.
It's not calming.
Marty Fox said something which I absolutely disagreed.
You wrote down? Oh, no, you disagreed with him.
Yeah.
It's like the Marty Fox fan club here, isn't it?
No.
Well, for Peter it is.
You need to introduce a floral scent.
Yes.
Okay, rather than flowers. Now, the only issue with that when you introduce scent, it's called a masking agent. And so with a masking agent, when I walk into a property and I smell masking agents, so it could be vanilla, it could be floral or something else, it's usually introduced to cover up another smell. And that for me tells me we have a problem. I have no problem with flowers, like real flowers. I did a really in-depth study. It took about 30 days to do the research. And I did this article called Smells That Sell. And I did the research from all over the world. And the best scent in a property when you're selling it, always ask the question, what do you think most people would answer?
Bread, baking.
Or coffee.
Bread.
Yeah.
It's not going to be florals.
No,
but florals put off male buyers.
Yeah.
It's too sweet.
Yep.
It's sickly.
And it encloses the room. Yep.
I would never put a floral scent in a house because men hate it, generally speaking. It's too sweet.
The number one scent that the brain picks up on easiest is actually lemon. It's the simplest one. It also has that sense of clean. And after I did the research, I've gone, aha, that's why dishwashing detergents are lemon, which is also why a lot of detergents you wash your clothes in have a lemon scent. For that very reason, it's the simplest smell that the brain picks up on. So when you said floral, I've gone, mate, not a chance. No way.
Yeah, you didn't agree with Marty. Lo and behold.
Yeah, I know I'm going to send him a letter.
Lo and behold.
Pick your thing up. So what else was it in? What else did you like about room 2?
Look, I think that was it. Really, I really liked the execution of that. It's not calming though.
Yeah.
And it wasn't versatile. It's certainly not set up for a toddler or a small child. It's mid-teens up to. So I thought it was too polarizing. It's a bit like the basketball room. It was so specific on age, gender.
Yeah.
It wasn't a kids' room, that's for sure. So I think that they're missing a trick there.
When I set kids' rooms, or what I use the term kids, I actually normally pitch for those in early to mid-teens every single time, because it's easy enough when you're doing a room to bring it back a little bit, and that's just a matter of what you put in there, like whether it be cots or other things. If you start going too high into the teens, then you're almost in adulthood again. And that's
but I think that room is too high in the teens.
Yeah. So
you can't put a toddler in that space.
No.
You wouldn't get them to sleep ever.
No, not a chance.
It's not a kid's room.
So Shayna Blaze mentioned that she loved the doona on the bed in room 2. And they're the nice things. I love nice bed sheets, pillows, doona covers. They're those things that one of the things that I actually say to the people who dress at home, when I walk into the room, I want to feel like I want to lock the door and jump into the bed and go to sleep. If I have that sense of I want to do that, that for me has massive appeal. And it's interesting that it's not only visual, it's instinctive. Ooh.
And it's a feeling.
Yeah,
it's a feeling that it creates. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yep. So
from that perspective.
Steph and Gian. Okay. We're all on the Steph and Gian train here.
You can't not be.
No.
I mean, they tick every single box you can possibly imagine. Continuity and flow with the rest of all their pendants were beautiful.
Oh.
That was all connecting with everything else that was going with the rest of with the home. Gender neutral, age appropriate for any age.
Yeah.
You could pair it back. It was just sophisticated.
Sophisticated, yeah.
I mean, when we're talking about both rooms here, you don't even need to separate them out because they're just they just nailed it. So nailed it. They deserved every single point they got tonight.
I can't. The rooms were just delicious. Absolutely delicious in every single way.
One of the things that I liked that I don't think anybody else did was that they had 2 beds in one room.
Yeah, I love it.
And I grew up sharing a bedroom with my brother, which I loved.
Same
and I just thought that was a bit of a masterstroke, whereas nobody else did it.
The other great thing about it, though, Russ, is even if you're not sharing, so that then caters for a family with 3 children instantly. But the other thing is, when you're a kid, you love having sleepovers and then having that other room. So even if you don't have the 3 children, it's awesome. And if you don't want it, you just take it out. And then my daughter was like, oh, but I don't like the fact that they've got the one bed head. And I said, oh, but that's also a master stroke because you put the beds together and then you got a double or a king. So it worked. It was so versatile, even though they set it up as 2 singles, because that bed head was designed in such a way. I thought it was anyway, maybe it wasn't, but it could still be suitable for a king, queen, or double.
I just want to remind people that are watching us on the live stream at the moment to feel free to add comments. And I'm sure that most people have pretty strong comments about this particular house. Because I think there's a unanimous decision here that everybody, we all agree that it was a master stroke. So if you're watching on the live stream, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, feel free to add it in the comments. We'll get to see them and we'll showcase them during the show. Back to you guys.
The other thing I wanted to add, which I think was a miss in the other rooms, or it actually didn't make me annoyed, but I thought it was inappropriate. They had no TVs in this room. And I couldn't believe that some of the other rooms had a TV. Now, Shana said, oh, you can make it an art TV. I'm not a fan of TVs in bedrooms, but kids' bedrooms, no, you don't need to put that in there. If that's what how your family roll, you can add it in. I don't feel that should be in a kid's room when you're selling.
I'll never do it. For me, bookshelves are really important.
Yeah, but there's no bookshelves in any.
Yeah. No, but if I had a choice of
built-in shelves.
Yeah, built-in shelves. But a study nook.
Built-in shelves. Yeah, study nooks would be.
Or a bookshelf, like even a small one. Like I love them in kids' room or anyone's room. But TVs, not a huge fan.
But so here they've kept that calm feeling by not having a TV in there. Yeah. So I couldn't believe that in the basketball room, the TV was the centerpiece when you were in the bed, and it was a huge TV. I thought that was really disappointing, having a TV.
You want the kids to come out and be part of the family. It was really interesting. In the boys' room, the doona covers, they were the opposite of each other. So they were that little crisscross pattern.
Yeah, it was nice.
One was grey, but she swapped over the pillows.
Yeah, it was nice.
There's a little contrast. And I've gone, mate, has she thought about that? The thing that made me laugh when they were working out during the week where they're going to put the hanging chair, or as the boys said, the swing. She goes, it's not a swing, it's a hanging chair. And so I asked Tanya, Tanya being my wife, how would you have liked that as a teenager? And she said, I would have loved it.
My daughter as well. She said, if I was 3, I would have sat in there and loved it. But she said, I'd love that now.
Yeah.
She said, so like, and I get, we get clients and their kids want that in their room. So I think that is also age appropriate for a large age range.
You know what book would go with it? Enid Blyton, Magic Faraway Tree.
Yeah. Oh, heaps actually.
Yeah. I loved Enid Blyton all the way through. I think her books still stack up, so to speak.
Totally. My kids read them. Magic Faraway Tree. I've still got my originals.
Great adventure, isn't it? And here we are. Now we're becoming book commentators. Russ, we need to do a book show next.
It's the fantasy.
Yeah, very much so. So loved it. Everything about it.
Yeah. There's not really much else to say about 4. So now I'm interested to see what you think about 5.
Okay, there is one thing I'll guarantee I picked up on 5 that no one else did.
Okay, tell us what it is.
Well, let's go to 5. But before we go into 5, if we take our minds back to week 1, where Steph and Gian absolutely got nailed by the judges, I said back then, this will be either the making or the breaking of her. And I said, my honest opinion is I think she's going to grow from this. And we could see the stress that she put on herself during the week. And then the elation. It was like, I can breathe. And seeing those tears.
There was definitely a lot of pressure on her because of the disaster of a room that she created in week one, and she learnt from it. And it was so understyled in week one, and this was styled to perfection. But I mean, Gian confirmed it was every tiny skerrick. It took them forever.
So as a interior designer yourself, when you think over your journey, and without exception, we all have briefs that we do that we absolutely nail it, and then we have some that it's just for whatever reason just doesn't quite make it. And sometimes it's nothing to do with us, and be with the client. When you have had those setbacks yourself, where you're good at what you do, there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes, and it's like, that didn't go great. How do you pick yourself up as a designer and go again?
It's a good question. I suppose it's actually probably similar to what she's done. It's like, I'm not going to make that error again, or I'm not going to have it feel like that again, in that I'm not quite happy with the way it turned out. So you go to great lengths next time to make sure that that's not going to happen again. So I think it would be a very similar approach to her: additional research, a lot more time on it, and just making sure that you're picking up what did actually not work last time. She had the advantage in that she had feedback, very specific feedback about why room week one it didn't work. So she was able to take that feedback and make sure that that didn't happen this time. And that's exactly what she did.
She grew ears.
Sorry?
She grew ears. She started.
Yeah, absolutely. She took it on board. And I think she took it on board way back then, and she knew she had to listen. I think she's listened the whole way through. So she absolutely got the very specific feedback and ran with it this time, and ran with it really, really well.
I'm excited about her future. Eliza and Liberty, the scallywag sisters that always, even when they're complaining, it still makes me laugh because they complain differently. And this week we really saw Eliza, just carry on like a two-bob watch. But I was still highly amused at how she was
funny.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I can't help but like those two, honestly. I think they're really well liked overall. If I'm looking at all the chats and everything on Facebook, they're well liked. I think because they just say it like it is. They're just real. They're not playing games. So with the first, I think overall they did a really nice job, and I think Darren made a really valid comment. They only spent $13K, and they spent the least out of anyone, but their rooms didn't look like that. And Darren said they've been really smart in how they've used their budget, and they've done, flat pack furniture. They've put it together, and then the decorating has really pulled it together. And that is a really good example of how you don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money. It comes out in the detail of styling. And I suppose it's similar to fashion. You can have quite a cost-effective outfit, but you might have really beautiful shoes, and that elevates the whole outfit. And I think that's very similar to what they've done here. They've had a hero piece in the room, and I'm talking about both rooms now. But they haven't necessarily had really expensive furniture. They executed it really well. This is the sort of stuff that I think people want to see in the block. How do I create a really good room and not spend a fortune? And I think what they were talking about with the girls, with their rooms, that's what people want to watch the block for. And unfortunately, we're not getting that every week. And I thought this was a really good example of showing people what you could do.
I was actually really heartened by the flat pack bed. I was heartened because
it's good.
Yeah, I just thought it's a good use. And the thing is, kids grow so quickly. So, that bed might be suitable, for 5 or 6 years, depending on what age they are. And then I know with our kids, they probably had 3 beds in their lifetime.
God, you were generous. My kids are not getting 3 beds.
Yeah, not at once. But, over the journey, they got taller, their interests were different, punks, and then we did something else and something else along the way. And,
I think it's the interests.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that was really well done. I think what I did like was the Be Nice picture done by that backstory of the young girl with leukemia and a little note. That was a very thoughtful component in the whole thing. It's the human part of this whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, a parent is going to buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, parents who buy those homes, unfortunately, are going to have, maybe not this home, but homes, are going to have sick children along the way. And this is going to tell anyone who's watching this, whose kid's going through something, that you can still do amazing things in this really challenging space. And I love that. And I thought how the girls did it was beautiful.
It was really nice. I suppose the cynic in me thinks, how contrived was it? But taking all that away.
Okay, so
It's the sort of thing you put into
back.
Forever Home.
Yeah,
I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm not back.
The Brick Man. So they made reference.
Are you talking about?
Yeah, so the Brick Man, the leopard, they made reference to her profession. So, who's she worked for again?
Personal trainer?
No, not personal trainer. She's a PA.
She's a personal assistant.
Who's the two guys who were on Fox FM for years that are hilarious?
I don't know. I don't
anyway.
Fox FM.
Hamish and Andy?
Yeah, Hamish and Andy. Yeah, so she's the PA to Hamish and Andy. So
hey, can I pause there for a second?
Sure.
And I'm going fanboy here, but I love listening to Hamish on his podcast called How Other Dads Dad. And if you haven't heard that podcast, just go, don't pause what we're doing right now, but add it to your list. He did an episode 2 weeks ago with Scott Cam, and that's the relationship to this. And I swear that is some of the best dadding advice you could ever get from Scott Cam. It was amazing.
Wow, I have heard really good things about that podcast.
Yeah, so that one was exceptional. And then he did an episode called I think it was called the Improbable Podcast. I think it is, but really it was just Hamish traveling from Sydney, where he lives, down to a halfway point between him and Beau Miles in their most recent episode. Just a little segue. If you're into podcasts, check out the episode with Beau Miles as well. But definitely the Scott Cam. It is dadding gold in there.
I'll have to listen to that myself.
Yeah,
to all the other ones you've recommended to me, Russ.
How Other Dads Dad. There you go, Hamish Blake.
Something that interests you, Russ, is that I realised that I dealt with Eliza before. I did some work on Andy's property years ago, and I typed in a name. I go, these are all the emails I was dealing with, and I've got to say, Hamish and Andy in real life are how they are on TV. There's how they come exactly who they are when they're together, just doing normal things. It was actually quite amusing. So
what do we think of the rooms?
Okay, so look, I did like the rooms. I didn't know what to expect, but those rooms would actually work in photos. Now, the thing that I picked up, did you see the little cubby house in one of the rooms where you climbed? This is the one thing. Okay, now did you pick up something? There was one little thing there I picked up straight away, and I've gone, there was a double GPO on the right-hand side. So when you actually have a look at it, it was on the right-hand side.
Oh,
so
right.
Yeah, and I've gone, why have they got a GPO in there? It's not a place to have the plug. It's a double. So all the kid would have to do is grab something and stick it in.
Yeah.
And it's curtains.
You can get the covers for them, but it's normally I'm the one that picks up all the GPOs every week, Peter, and where they shouldn't be, and you've nailed it this week.
So he goes, I didn't see it. I go, I did.
I didn't see it.
So look,
that was in the second room, that little reading corner. I thought it was beautiful.
So Marty Fox, I love that he brought his kids on, and you got the real reaction of the kids. And his kids look like They've been created in Hollywood. He's a handsome little rooster. She's a gorgeous little girl. And just to see them in those rooms, and she ran straight into that little area. And that, for me, told me that it works, and they were excited to actually be in there. So, look, I love the rooms, but there's only one 310er in all the rooms. And the truth is, the scores that they gave for the other ones become rather nebulous because Stefan Gian's was just so standout. I was just overwhelmed by just how beautiful it was. If I was a parent and my kid's room was like that, I think I'd be next to them reading books and falling asleep next to them in those beautiful rooms.
Well, I did say to my daughter that, you know, if she wanted something with the clouds and everything else, she can do it. So I've given her Graphico. I said, you can go and Google what you like, because we're in the process of doing her room. I was a bit surprised that they got fourth, because I thought their rooms were much better than Leah and Ash. Again, calming, beautiful. Like, you know, for people that may not have parents that are buying these properties, they do not want to have a highly strung, wide kid that's trying to go to bed because of the colours in the room are not right. So I think it is a really important thing. The colours were good. It was gender neutral, good age gap for the first room. The second room was a little bit young. You're not going to put a teenager in that space. It was quite, and it was all over the cupboard front, so that's not going to be easy to take off unless it was a sticker. But the reading corner was awesome. Kids always want a cozy nook. That's why they love being, you know, cocooned in their bed, or they've got a reading corner, or there's somewhere.
Or a hanging chair.
Exactly. They want somewhere cozy. They love it. It's all my daughter talks about is, I just want this corner. And, you know, we used to do a reading corner just with heaps and heaps of floor cushions and other goods. They always want this cozy corner. So I think they did that corner, apart from the GPO, Peter, really well. It felt cozy.
Our kids love hammocks. And they're adults, but they love hammocks. They get in a hammock, got a podcast or a book, or
it's, I don't know, you feel cocooned again. You just sort of feel, I don't know.
Well, one of my dreams.
You can never go wrong with it, I don't think.
One of my dreams is to have a nice big block of land, say, in the Yarra Valley somewhere, and to have a couple of big oak trees and a hammock in between them, and a beautiful spring day with the wind just gently going and watching the clouds go by and falling asleep. So that little cocoon thing is a real thing. I love it.
It is, and I don't think we ever outgrow it either.
No. I would have to say, and this may seem weird, but I probably enjoyed this week's reveal more than any of the others so far.
It's funny you say that, because I also really enjoyed this week, and maybe because it's got, I don't know, is it they're more feeling in these spaces than the others?
Yeah.
Is it because they're not as sterile and cookie cutter? I don't know. I agree with you. It may be because my daughter had her 2 bobs worth because it was really relevant for her. But I agree with you, Peter. It just felt, I don't know. I can't put my finger on the right word.
I suspect that each one of the contestants delved back into their memories of when they were young, or they have kids. And it's interesting that when you are a parent, you know, you want the best for your kids. It actually brings something different to the table, and it's not selfish. It's generous. And for Stefan Gian, I mean, I must admit, I was laughing during the week when they were asking young kids, you know, would they like this in a room? Would they like that in a room? And she was trying to understand what kids want. And so, yeah, that's why I loved it.
Oh, you're on mute, Russ.
I sneezed. You're always telling me I'm on mute. I sneezed, so I apologise for that. At this point, we've been going for an hour. I think we're all pretty much of the same opinion that this was a tremendous win for Stefan Gian. Pete, what have you got on this week? And if people are interested in learning about what you do at Presenting Homes Australia, how can they reach out to you?
They can touch base with me on presentinghomeaustralia.com.au. It's got our number on there, which is 90609222. You can catch me on socials, obviously under my own name, or Presenting Homes Australia on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and what else have we got? Something else out there. And so what else have I got on? We have about 4 properties on the go at the moment. We just finished one in Yea. We got another one in Warburton. You want to see the view from this one? Oh my goodness, it's epic. And just pretty excited by some of the what we're happening this week.
And Francis, at White Pebble Interiors, how can people find out about you and what have you got on for this week?
So the easiest way to get me is on the website, whitepebbleinteriors.com.au. There's plenty of ways that you can contact me directly and on all the socials. This week, another podcast is coming out all about mudrooms, how to design for them, what you need to consider and so forth. That comes out on Thursday. And we've got a lot of client meetings this week. So 2 new clients that have come in, we've got briefing meetings with, and we've got plenty of meetings in the studio going through materials and also elevations this week as well.
Perhaps you could give us a quick summary of what your studio, because I've had the pleasure of that experience. Tell us a little bit about what you do in the studio.
So in the studio, we invite our clients to come in to show them the materials that we've selected for them. So that's a curated shortlist off the back of their brief in terms of the look and feel they're trying to create, durability and functionality. We have a big specification table. And I always say we've laid out your home on the table so you can sort of get an aerial view of how all those materials have a continuous flow throughout the home. And then we present that to our clients. We work with them then to start taking things off the table and then start finalising those material choices. So that's the initial meeting. And then once we've done the internal elevations, which is all the drawing detail, we then invite them back into the studio and we have the drawings and all the materials there, and we really help clients finalise and make their absolute final decisions on their materials.
That'd be so
Hopefully
exciting.
That's a good summary.
That would
pretty
be
good summary.
Exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Sometimes we have people, I'm very good at reading people's faces, so they don't necessarily need to use words, but sometimes we have people who get really emotional because they can feel how their house is going to feel, and they feel like there's progress being made as well, and that we've really understood what they're trying to create for their home, and it's a really special moment. That particular meeting.
What a sensational occupation you have!
That's one of my absolute favourites. That one.
So once
make
again,
a difference to how people live.
Thank you so much for your professional insights into the reveal for the block this week. If you're interested in reaching out to Peter, he's easy to find if you can spell his name on all the socials. And Francis is equally easy to find at White Pebble Interiors. So thank you again so much for joining us this evening as we unpack the reveal for the kids' bedrooms on season 19, episode 37 of The Block. Thanks for joining us.
Bye for now. Bye.